For this special, we read The Cock Down the Block by Amy Award. Look, I've had it bad for the girl with all the curves next door forever. She turned me down in high school, and since I'm not a total douche canoe, I love that word, I lusted after her all by myself in my shower, and we stayed just friends for years. Now she's the adorable librarian next door, and I'm the star quarterback of the best pro football team in the league. Not to toot my own horn. So when she asks me to be her fake date to her all-girls high school reunion, I am totally down to show her off to the mean girls who bullied her back then so they can see just how incredible she is. I'll be the best boyfriend they've ever seen. The best fake boyfriend, that is. Until I find out from her slightly stalkery classmates that she still has her V card. I don't see how that's even possible. Not with how sexy and sweet she is. Could it be because she knows that she belongs with me? You belong with... No. Okay. Happy September.
Happy September. And it's a special.
It's a special. Yes. This September, we are getting back to school. And in the spirit of back to school, we are bringing you a hot librarian and a teacher romance. This week is librarian, and next special will be about a teacher.
Oh, you should be getting a delivery today. Yeah,
Me?
forgot.
What's coming in the mail?
I'm just gonna tell you it's a flag,
Oh,
but I'm not gonna tell you any more about it.
oh, I am so intrigued because I am not a flag person, so this has me so intrigued. Is this something I'm going to put on my door?
Yes. Do you want to be surprised or do you want me to show you what it is?
I kind of want to be surprised.
Okay, I don't know when
Like now
UPS
that
gets
I
to your
know,
house.
like after 5.
This week we're talking about The Cock Down the Block by Amy Award. And you know what? I loved the fact that the content notes are just telling you that this book is fluff. And
I mean,
sometimes we
sometimes
all
that's
need a
what you need.
fluffy good read. But
Yeah.
also, welcome to our first special of the month.
Welcome to September.
Welcome to September. This book actually had been sitting on my TBR, or at least staring at me in my Kindle for a while. And I don't know why I didn't take the plunge for it. And I really don't. I have no, you know what it was? I think it was the virgin thing. And for a while, I was typically avoiding
Oh,
the
yeah,
virginity
yeah.
things, but spoiler alert, I'm glad I read this. So
Had it
it
on the back burner for when I needed a fluffier read. So,
yeah. It does start with a beautiful dedication that just says for all the women who have done or are doing the world to love yourself from the inside out, you're allowed to take up space. And that is a very beautiful message. It's great. And I love that. It's so cute. So this book actually opens with our FMC, or not our FMC, MMC, Chris, because he's our FMC apparently. Just kidding. With Chris, and he is awoken at the ass crack of dawn by a rooster named Luke Skycocker, and I died.
I thought you would appreciate that.
I loved it. And yes, you heard that right. Luke is owned by his best friend and neighbor, Trixie, and as much as he wants to murder the rooster, Trixie would be very pissed if he murdered this rooster. He also has the biggest fucking crush on this woman. They have been friends since high school, and she friend zoned him like really hard, and he still has not recovered since then. Does he still jerk off to her in the shower? Of course he does. He's still a fucking man. But she said no to him, and he would never push that boundary, which is, I respect a man who respects boundaries. But it does not mean he doesn't get a chance to look. Every chance.
Doesn't take the chance to look, yeah.
Yep. Of course, he is sidetracked by his dirty thoughts, and this little old lady, not speeding down the road because she's going 11 miles an hour, but she also can't see over the fucking steering wheel. Fucking rooster is heading straight out to this fucking car, and he's gonna get smashed. And like, we can't let that happen. So he runs out, grabs the rooster, saves it. He pushes himself off the hood, grabs Trixie, and then rolls. Wow,
Chasing after the rooster, too.
it's so fucking funny. Trixie thanks him and ends up inviting him over to dinner to thank him for saving the rooster. And he says he can't because he has to go to the Manaway's grand opening, which is a restaurant. And he's like, you want to just like come and be my date? Man. She kind of is like,
Smooth.
I don't know, because this is a fancy fucking place. And like, I am not Manue Steakhouse material. But
I am a chicken lady. Thank you.
yes, she is tempted by football player butts, which honestly, fair.
And this is a ritzy event. It might have some good celebrity hot goss. She's into
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, and he gets her to go because he tells her that he will point out everyone who is being recruited to host the Great Mile High Bake Off. Trixie, by the way, addicted to competition shows, so this like intrigues her so much. So Trixie is our FMC in case that was not obvious by everything that I just talked about. And we learned that her mom is a former BBW porn star turned Volvo driving soccer mom turned sex educator and sex positive and body positive influencer. There's a lot there. And she sends Trixie like an aggressive amount of vibrators and dildos all the time. But thank God Trixie had not grabbed her mail already when Chris saved the rooster because there's a vibrator inside of the mail, which her
All this
fucking,
did was make me want to send you stuff.
oh God,
Random
why?
monthly. I just don't ask. It just made me want to be like, oh, I'm going to surprise Crystal
Oh
with
my
random things in the
God.
mail instead of
No,
books.
no, thank you. So, sure, Chris has definitely seen his fair share of sex toys, but he did not need to know about her dirty secret stash in her closet. She also, by the way, has other chickens. She's got Princess Leia, Chew Bok Bok, and Kylo Hen. And it's so funny. She was warned that if she added a rooster to her flock, that all of a sudden there would be like fertilized eggs. But Luke was just protective of his girls, and he is not fucking any of these other chickens. It's adorable. The reason she even has these chickens in the first place was that Chris and his brother Everett told her that she worked hard but didn't play enough and she needed a hobby or a pet, so she got both, which is so funny. Ugh, I love her relationship with her chickens. It's a great relationship. Trixie heads into work where she's supposed to have an evaluation with her branch manager, Creepy Carter. Which, yeah, this man, by the way, creepy as fuck. I hated him. He's a weird person. When Trixie is at work,
I don't know.
Creepy Carter has forwarded her some emails from parents who are wanting one-on-one help. But as she is going through her email, she sees one that's saying she's been nominated for a Young Adult Romance Writers Association Librarian of the Month, which is kind of cool. During work, she's trying to think of what she could possibly wear to the steakhouse opening. And then she's
So
also
I
thinking
just
about,
realized that we never had the award ceremony or anything of that,
yeah, I realized that too.
or any resolution to that.
Kind of sad. Yeah,
Makes me sad.
maybe she didn't win. I don't know.
Still,
I don't know. Yeah.
would have been nice to be nominated.
Right. Yeah. So she's thinking what she could wear to the steakhouse opening. And then she's also thinking about the nomination. And all of a sudden, her best friend Lulu is calling her. Love Lulu, by the way. She tells her that her crisis right now is that she needs help because she has nothing to wear to the steakhouse opening. She tells Lulu that Chris invited her, and Lulu's like, Chris, quarterback of the Denver Mustangs, Denver Post most eligible bachelor, your ultra hot next door neighbor, Chris, asked you on a date?
Lulu hadn't been thinking of this for a long time.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Trixie tries to deny it's a date, but Lulu asks her if she's been sniffing the children's librarian's glue supply, which is hilarious and cute. She has to get off the phone though because a group of teenage girls walks in, one of which is Jules, which is Chris's teen sister. So she decides to also ask Jules what she should wear. And this intrigues Jules to no end and gives her advice on what to wear and says that it will be a hot, sexy librarian look that her brother will go gaga for. Trixie tells her to stop shipping her and her brother, and she says, too late, which is so cute and funny. Like the fact that all of these family members just really loves her. Chris, weirdly nervous for this date, but I mean, like he's brought her places before, but this definitely feels like more of a date because normally it's just him bringing her to functions as a friend. His brother
And this
Everett comes
time they
in.
have to dress up.
Yeah, they do. His brother Everett comes in, and dude, I fucking loved Everett so much. All of his brothers were so funny, but Everett was like a big player in most of it. And Everett starts peppering him with questions, and Chris finally says that, you know what? He's currently just waiting on Trixie. And the brothers, all of them, are just staring at him. He tries to insist that she's just his friend. He does not want to hear anything they have to say tonight. Chris decides, fuck this, and orders the brothers an Uber. And he goes, we're going to go separately. Get the fuck out of here. When Trixie makes her appearance, he realizes he is fucked. She looks fantastic. When they get to the restaurant, he apparently forgot to tell her that oopsies, we're also walking a red carpet and there are photographers and everything, but he reassures her and helps her
The
navigate through
pants
it.
are
And
here.
but
I wish
also
I
just
was.
man, they look so good together. And Chris guides her, and they really do look like a couple. He's like trying to calm her down, like talking in her ear, and he's being like, all up in her business. So cute. They finally make their way inside, and Chris tells her that she was spectacular out there, and he does apologize for the paparazzi. Mr. Kingman is there, which is their father, of course. And he has always been kind of a second father to her. And she's like, I always just feel the need to curtsy to him, which is so funny. And the father's like, just call me
It
coach.
should be
Like, what the
noted
fuck?
that, yes, he is the coach of the football team, the Major League
Mhm.
Football team that Chris plays for.
Yeah,
And he has 7 boys and 1 girl. So he has 8 children. And he has heavily put all 7 of his boys into intensive football their whole lives. So he currently has 3 of them playing major league football for him and one that is being drafted.
it's great.
It's a little ridiculous,
It is
but
crazy, but
hilarious.
whatever. Yeah. He makes a comment. Oh, I see that my number one is keeping you company. And he's keeping his hands to himself. And Chris says, always. And the dad just goes, good. But I wouldn't mind if he didn't.
They all
Uh,
of this
the
family
whole family is, yeah.
is basically
Yeah.
shipping them.
Yeah. The night continues to go on, and Chris tells Trixie that there's a staircase that goes up the balcony and with only a few tables. It's a lot of people, so it's nice to kind of hide away. And he goes, and I'll help you point out who's gonna be the host. I'm like, this is great. He's so great. They have a great time and they drink a lot and they go home. Next morning, Trixie wakes up with a hangover. She had a little bit too much fun. And Lulu is calling her, reminding her that she did say she would be the wingman for the reunion planning committee. And of course, she got coerced into planning this 10-year reunion, and she is fucking not happy about it. But
For her high school.
yeah, sorry. She heads to the meeting, and the queen bees are there. So these are people who bullied her heavily in high school. And this whole meeting, these girls are just being so fucking rude. And Rachel, who is head of the bitches, makes a comment about the fact that Trixie was at the event last night with Chris and that she must have like won him or something because obviously she can't have a man looking the way
The,
she does.
everyone has seen the pictures. And since Chris is the quarterback for this major league team, he gets quite a bit of press. So having her on his arm, they actually made the front cover.
They're discussing having a bachelor auction for their fundraiser. And Rachel's like, oh, maybe he'd be willing to help out for a worthy cause,
Because
but
that
I
must
won't be.
be the only way
I
that
know,
she had
right?
him as a date, that she won him in an auction.
And she goes, but I won't be putting my boyfriend up for auction. So she accidentally calls Chris her boyfriend. And now we're going to get the whole I need a fake boyfriend trope. And I love this actually for me.
I know you do.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fine and sometimes it's so terrible. Chris decides, you know what? He is fucking done messing around. And after last night, he's like, I truly am head over heels in love with Trixie. And he does not want to be
He's
her
like, I
friend. So
can't do this anymore.
nope. And he is gonna recruit his brothers to help him out.
Well, he's
Specifically
got 7.
Everett.
He might as well
I know.
utilize them.
Right? Specifically Everett. He meets up with Everett and explains he needs help getting Trixie because the last 10 years of whatever he's been
His
doing
dad
has
basically
not
was like, "Oh, I need a football team. Please hold. I'll make one myself."
right. Whatever he's been doing has not gotten him out of the friend zone, but he says he's not just going to blurt out that he loves her. He needs to actually win her heart first. Everett tells him that he's been waiting for him to ask since she moved in next door when they were kids. And he explains he actually had asked Trixie out once 10 years ago, but she basically told him to fuck off. Everett tells him, you need to stop acting like she's made of glass. You've been friends since you were 10, so you need to really go for it. But first, invite her to family game night because you can't act fake in front of the whole family without getting called out. And this fucking family game night is wild, by the way.
Everett is the like ladies' man out of the family, so that's why
Dude,
he
that
was the
man
one
is
to go to.
so funny. So he does invite her
All the
and
brothers have their own
like
little
little personality. It's so
Yeah.
cute.
Well,
Yeah. So apparently, this Kingman family game night is super legendary in town because everybody gets into fights. So Trixie is gonna grab
none
a
of
bunch
them
of extra
are
ice.
good losers.
No, she's like, I'm gonna make sure there's extra ice packs and a first aid kit. So when she gets to this house, it's already fucking loud. But there is also a ton of people in this family. So she's thinking to herself that, if there was ever a big, loud family I wanted to belong to, it was the Kingman family. Chris, like, calls her
She's always
Beatrix.
envied them too because she's an only child and they have,
Yeah.
a whole pack.
So Chris calls her Beatrix while he's there. This man is trying the hardest. And he never calls her that, but he is
Only
really
when he
trying
has
to
to
put,
seriously talk to her.
right? He is really trying to put on the air of this they're not friends thing. And he's flirting with her a bit throughout this night. And all she can think of is there's literally no way this man is flirting with me. Like he could get any girl in the world and he had never been interested in me before. He's my good friend and like, you know, him being my good friend is why he would agree to be my date for the reunion, even though they weren't even remotely in love with each other. So she still, by the way, needs to ask him to be her date for the reunion. She's just thinking he's just going to say yes, it's fine, it's
And
fine,
confess
and
that
also
she
and also pretend to be her boyfriend. Her and
that she
Chris
made that
actually,
slip.
yeah, her and Chris actually do end up winning like the games, and he pulls her into his lap for a hug. But this kind of takes her breath away in a fun way. Chris ends up dragging her towards the kitchen and out to the backyard for some air, and he tells her that they keep teaming up like that, they'll start to think that she's got a little Kingman in her. And of course, he makes a dirty joke and says, "Well, if you ever want some Kingman in you, just you know where to find me." And he does almost end up kissing her. He doesn't, but it was really close. And she goes quiet for a minute. But then she ends up asking him if he can be her date to the school reunion and that she kind of needs him to pretend to be her boyfriend. And he's
And
thinking,
the word
what the
pretend
shit?
stops this poor man
I
short. He's been
know.
spending his whole night flirting with her and trying to get her to see him and as a real contender. And then she uses the word pretend, and he's just like, record scratch. What?
Inside. Yeah. He needs to play it cool. And he needs like a really long run and like 12 cold showers. She tells him that he doesn't need to answer now, and then she leaves. His brothers overheard this and they're telling him that he needs to go for it. This is his chance. And he is shocked. He's like, how does half the family know I'm in love with Trixie? I've never done anything. And his brother Deck
They're
just
like,
says,
it's not
come
half,
on,
it's all.
everyone. So, like, and like, what's the plan? We need to strategize. And this is so cute that they're so supportive of him and they really want him to go for it because they want all in on this. They're like, if we want our family to grow, we all need to be on this. And he goes, what the fuck do you mean grow? Who's talking about growing as in babies? And his brother Isaac is like, if you think you're going to bang Trixie and leave her high and dry, I'm here to tell you that that is a career ending decision. Basically, everyone wants them to work out. And if he fucks it up, they're coming for him.
They're
The
taking
dad, by the
Trixie's
way,
side.
yeah, the dad, by the way, is
They
actually
get
the one who
Trixie in the
told the
divorce.
father. They do get Trixie in the divorce. That's so right. The brothers, like, were eavesdropping because the dad told them to eavesdrop and intervene if necessary. So Chris is determined he is going to win her heart or die trying. Little dramatic, but he is in it and it's good. Lulu is talking with Trixie. And she even says, I don't know why you didn't ask him to be your actual date. He is clearly into you, and anybody in the entire area can see that. Also, I love Lulu and her wife's relationship with Trixie so much because they
They kept
always like
asking her to be a
her for
third.
threesome.
It's cute.
But yeah, Trixie does tell Lulu that he hasn't answered yet, and it was a little awkward.
Like,
And
if you need
it was
somebody, we're
it
here.
was it was just so funny. She goes, it's a little awkward, and Lulu's like, no, nuh-uh.
Imagine that.
Lulu is so fucking funny. But she needs to get off the phone with Lulu because someone's at her house. Ends up being that Lulu is chasing Chris around in the backyard. And it's so fucking funny. But Chris has the upper hand today because he's carrying
Damn
Princess
rooster.
Leia. And he apparently brought wing sauce with him to taunt Luke with, and the chicken jumped up, snatched it out of his hand, and basically assaulted him with us. It's so funny. But Chris is there to tell her, yes, he will be her fake date, but they need to practice because if he's going to try to be sold as her boyfriend, they need to be all in. And they
He
have to be
can't
able to
act
act
that
like
well. He's a football player, not an actor.
no. And like, she wants to start with stuff not so public first, since everything from the restaurant has kind of gotten blown up and she's gotten many new voicemails and phone calls and messages and like everything went fucking crazy. Chris suggests that he tells the PR people to tell everyone that he's dating a local girl, but it could also play into her evil plan of convincing everyone at the reunion that they are actually dating and they could just play it as a hometown love story, which will make it more public, which will kind of suck, but it really does play into all of this. Chris suggests that they go hiking as a quote unquote date because it's going to be up in the mountains. It's not going to be nearly as public. They're gonna go the day after though, because she's like, I need to go volunteer at the rooster rescue today. And Chris is like, okay, rooster rescue it is. And it's adorable. And they get into like a cute little
This
fight at
poor
the rooster
guy and the
rescue.
chickens.
And they're just throwing stuff back and forth. And then she pulls his waistband and he goes,
Chickens really do not like him.
no. She pulls his waistband and he's thinking, it'd be so nice if she stuck her hand down my pants. She does, but with straw and shoves straw down his ear. Not going the way he wanted it to. The owners
He
of
takes it
this
though.
he does. He takes it. The owners of the rescue wanted to get a quick photo though, because they want to be able to post it on social media so that they can get,
Publicity.
yeah, a bunch of attention. And he says, sounds great. And he pulls Trixie in and then dips her into like that, like the dip kiss thing. He doesn't kiss her though. He thought about it.
And she's over here like, this is the second time in like as many
Uh-huh.
days as that. I feel like we've almost kissed. What is going on?
Yep. And it was a great shot until a rooster jumps on him. They end up like tumbling and she lands on top of him. And man, this is this poor man's body. And he tells her that he actually had a lot of fun flirting with her today. And she's like, did you flirt with me today? And he goes, I guess I'm gonna have to try harder.
Oh,
Chris, though,
poor
needs to work
guy.
out because he's got a lot of pent up frustration. So he calls his brothers to go work out. And of course, they're so fucking funny. Everett tells him that he told him to be natural, not a fucking lovesick snail. I mean, they're hyping him up, but also shitting on him for how he's behaving. And again, their relationship is so good. But he decides that there's no more holding back. She either falls for him or she doesn't. And he is literally playing to win. All Trixie can think about, like you said, is that like this is 2 days in a row that Chris has almost fucking kissed her. And like, but does she actually want him to kiss her? Please.
Yes.
Bitch, yes. If you're thinking about that, yeah. And she gets an email notification from Carter that it is time for her evaluation. He, again, so creepy. He talks about her mom a lot, and she knows that, yeah, he's definitely seen the videos.
Most people tend to bring up her mom in interactions, and it's not cute. It's
No,
not
it's not.
cutesy. It's
It's
not
not.
demure.
He possibly thought she was like a chip off the old block, but she's also never spoken about her mom to Carter. So, like, him asking how she is fucking crazy. He asks about the nomination, which she had almost forgot about the award with everything else going on. And she tells him, like, yeah, I've been nominated as the young adult romance writers librarian of the year. And he's just so weird about it because he's a snob and he does not think that people should be reading about smut, especially the teenagers. He's
And
clutching
that's
his
not
pearls
even
while
like
also like,
that's what he thinks YA is, by the way.
yeah, that's where sex goes to die. Like, that's not where sex is.
We don't even like to read YA.
For the podcast, we don't. But she tells him that yes, she is planning on going to the award ceremony and she was hoping that the library might fund the travel. And he's being an ass about it. But he does finally say he will look into it and she needs to go back to work. He tells her that the library website has been a little bonkers with hits over the weekend. And it's probably from when she went with Chris to this restaurant opening. And this is when she realizes, wow, there's no wonder I was getting, friend requests left and right. And, there are pictures of her and Chris and she's in the tabloids and some headlines weren't bad, but some were very terrible. She ends up getting a text message from her mom because her mom has now also seen it, which crap, her mom is in Thailand. She also gets a message from Chris asking her to a Mountaineers baseball game the next night. She asks if he's seeing the tabloid pictures too, and he goes, nope, I just don't look. I promise they have nothing to say that you or I care about. But then she realizes, shit, the entire world thinks that we're together. So what the fuck is going to happen after the reunion? Like, are we going to have to pretend to stay together? Do we have to stage a breakup? Like, why is my life sounding like the plot to a YA romance right now? She also asked Chris if he could donate something to the fundraiser because she's thinking of doing a silent auction. And he goes, "We got you, boo, whatever you need." And she goes, "Thanks, honey. Nope, that's yucky. Sweetie, babe, Snookums, gotta go. I will ask the teens for better sweetheart names." It was so cute. I like that. "Honey, nope, that's gross." Chris decided that while he could have asked for a favor to get them into a box, he wanted their seats out in the open, right in the middle. Oh
He
no,
has a plan.
normally he wouldn't, but he's got a plan. And
Right.
he's going to try to stay low until the perfect moment. What is that perfect moment? Well, he sat there on purpose so that they could be on the kiss cam, and they kiss, and it's intense. And he goes, "Oh my God, I'm finally kissing her." And she was kissing me back. But he also realizes they've got about 30 seconds before they get fucking mobbed
Especially
because,
since the announcer announced his name and everything.
oh my God, it's so funny. Being seen in public was on the game plan, though, to show the bullies and his PR team would be happy about it as well, and to have this all over the internet. So his brothers are also there because why not? They're
They're
also in on the
his,
plan,
yeah, they're his defense.
which is so funny. They do
They're there
finally
to help him
manage.
get out.
Yeah, they do finally manage to get out, and she realizes that he actually planned this. And he says, yeah, they thought they needed a little incentive to practice kissing. All she can think about on the drive home, by the way, is this kiss. She ends up thanking him for
She just
the
blasts the
practice.
music so they don't have to talk about it.
They're blasting Taylor Swift, baby. Yeah. She's thanking him for the practice kiss day, and she goes to her front door. And this kiss really fucked with her head because she keeps getting the fucking key wrong. And he had also walked her up to the door. So he's like in her space. And so, like, in her space, thinking
She
about this
is
kiss,
fumbling.
she is not having a great, she is fumbling. She just thinks he looks so sexy waiting for her to open the door. And it would be like as if he could like pin her up against the wall. That's not what he was planning on doing, though. I'm sure in his brain that's what he wanted to do, but her brain is like meltdown fucking mode. He starts leaning in, and then all of a sudden her phone's vibrating. It's her mom calling with a video call, which is just poor timing for Chris,
She
but
tries
it's
to
fine.
shut it off, but she ends up answering it in her pocket
Yeah.
instead.
Chris ends up leaving, and her mom is like, "Chris Kingman on your front porch. Your heart's been ride or die for that boy for a long time, honey." So she's like, "Mom, please don't make it weird," which is so funny. And they talk a bit, and then she explains that they kiss at the game, and her mom's like, "A kiss is a powerful thing, sweetheart. Sometimes it's just a kiss, but other times this is the start of something more. Did it feel fake?" Her mom obviously knew something was up, and her mom is like realizing, because like they're discussing like a bunch of stuff, and she realizes like, shit, this has to do with like the queen bees, and her mom doesn't give a shit about them, but she says that Trixie really needs to ask herself what she really wants and to have some alone time with herself to explore her feelings about Chris. By the way, she meant masturbating, which is disgusting, but it's also kind of funny. But she also wants to know how it goes with Chris, not the
What
reunion
does
later
she
on.
say? An orgasm a day keeps the doctor away, or something like
Yeah.
that. That's her
But she
mom's
does,
motto.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But she wants to know how everything ends up going, not with the reunion, but with Chris, because she hates these fucking queen bee ladies. Trixie ends up getting an email from Rachel, and apparently several auction items had mysteriously disappeared. She also sees a picture from the game. Also, not all the comments are great, but Chris texts her and says, "Hey, I saw the photos. Turn off your notifications." Lulu also texts her and told her to not look at the comments. And while she really wanted to look, her sense of self preservation went out, and she deleted Instagram from her phone and pretty much every other single social media app. So that makes me so happy too that like she knew I should not look at these. And I love that. And I think, and
Some
that does come down,
self-preservation.
that definitely does come down to like, yes, her mom is insane, but her mom also
Has taught
like
her
raised
some
her
good.
really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that.
She has self-worth enough
Yes.
that,
I seriously, that makes me so happy to have like a character who has that and isn't so like, oh my
oh,
God, like
absolutely.
so insecure about themselves.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, look at one of the books we read more recently where it was like both of the characters were so insecure of themselves that we just hated everything about them.
Yes. Yeah. That like I was actually thinking about that when we were reading this, and I was like, this is like completely opposite of that book we read, which is it's nice. Chris is like, do I need to come over there? So she insists that Chris does not need to come over. It's not a big deal. And she's not even paying attention to everything, but Rachel is. And he just says, do I need to kill and or block her? Which we love a supportive man. We love a supportive man. Chris and her are going to go to a team barbecue, and he can tell that she's thinking about the kiss because he's only thought about it like 11 billion times. Which is
The
so
constant
funny.
hyperbole.
Which is
Ridiculous.
also how many times he's come in his own fist. Like since last night. Like this is so funny. So they're going to this team barbecue and she's asking if like other people who are there are going to see them together. And he says, well, it's not public, so there's not going to be any pictures, but there is still a bunch of people. So this is like a tradition hosted by the Manaways for the last 10 years, which are the owners of the team. And they're also the people who own that restaurant. And Chris looks forward to it every year because it started the new season. But today was a little bit different because his intentions for this year included Trixie. And this was his last shot to win her heart before the reunion because he really wanted to get her basically in love with him before this reunion. So this was his Hail Mary play. He also really just hates the idea of the fake relationship. Obviously, not the relationship itself, but he doesn't like it being fake. And she was his, and not in the gross, I own her way, but like a soul level way.
He
And
wanted to
he's
make sure we
really,
understood the distinction.
yes, and he's really trying to woo her into falling in love with him. Trixie does end up flirting with him a bit at this barbecue, and they do have such a great time. She ends up getting pulled by Marie, who is the owner's wife, and they tell her that they all bow down to her for landing a hot kingman. One of the girls says, you have to tell me if he's well hung. She says that they have not slept together yet. They're shocked. Another girl, it was so funny. I laughed. Another girl just says, don't get me wrong. I love my husband, but I would drop him like a bad habit to be a fluffernutter cream filling and a kingman sandwich.
I got excited for like half a second. I was like, oh, are we going to go there? Are we getting more than one for a minute in one of these books? I know it was going to be this one, but I had a moment.
God, these women are so fucking
You know how I
funny.
love me and my double deckers.
I know, I know. Oh God, that it was just so fucking funny. I laughed so hard. But then they do ask how serious it is and if they need to save her a seat in the box at games or if this is just a summer fling. And of course, her mouth goes dry because like how does she answer this? Marie is very protective over the boys. Trixie explains that they've been good friends for a very long time and she had asked him out and when they went to the restaurant opening, they really did just go as friends and she had asked him if he would go with her to the high school reunion as her date so that she can show up the girls at school, which Marie does call her out for. And she goes, you did that so that you could show up the girls at the school. But they do respect her for that too. And Marie just accepts it and says, I think you should just take the Mustang by the horns, so to speak, and ride him like a cowgirl. It's just so funny. So all of the wives and girlfriends of the players have accepted her into the fold, which is so sweet. And she realizes that her mom and Marie and every other woman really seem to think that Chris had actual feelings for her. So maybe she should trust their instincts instead of hers. And for the first time in her life, she didn't doubt that a man wanted her for her and not because she was the daughter of a porn star. And this is where we learned that she's a virgin, and any guy who had tried to have sex with her turned out to be disgusting and pretty much only wanted to be with her
And
because of her
basically
mom.
targeted her
Yeah, and
to,
even one guy like literally called her by her mom's name when he saw her breasts, and it
yeah, they targeted
really
her as
fucking
like a fandom thing. Gross.
it's disgusting. Men are gross. A lot of men are gross. Not all men. I have to put that disclaimer out there, but a good
Yeah,
amount of men.
you sure?
I'm sure it's not all men, but a good amount of them. Yes. Yeah. So, you know what, though? She's not going to be chicken anymore. And hopefully by tomorrow morning, Luke Skycocker would be the last virgin standing. So funny. Chris takes her home and they are back at the front door the same way they were the previous night. And instead of leaving it at no kiss, Chris tells her, we were interrupted before I could do this. And he was so close to kissing her. And he tells her, tell me you want this. Say you want me to kiss you.
I
Even if
want
it's,
it.
and she goes, I do. Even if it's 100% real, no more faking. She wants this shit. He tells her that he wants her not as a friend, and he has for a long time. And these days, these dates have been very real to him. And Trixie just says, then let's not be friends anymore. And they kiss. And it is a hot kiss. And of course, they're still outside. So she says, you're making it very hard to concentrate, and I may never get this door unlocked if you don't stop. And he tells her that if you don't get that door open, I'm going to shove your jeans down and take you right up against the door. They do
Whoa, now,
eventually get
Nelly.
into, I know, right? Well, I mean, he has been waiting for this moment for 10 fucking years, dude. He's been waiting. And it is
More
time.
than that, honestly.
Yeah,
But that's when he got up the nerve to shoot his shot the first time.
that is true. Yeah. It's been so long that he's been made to do this. But they do eventually get into the house. And of course, Luke is in there waiting. So
Standing guard.
Chris does end up scooping him up and gets him into the coop. It was a very funny moment. And he comes back and he's like, I'm going to carry you up to the bed. So he does. He picks that woman up and carries her up and he puts her on the bed and he goes to take her jeans off and he
Oh my
flings
God.
them backwards and he knocks down the entire box of sex toys in the closet. And you know what? He decides he's going to use one of them and he uses the
He
tentacle monster.
thinks it's the best thing ever.
I know. It's so, and he was just like, okay. And he uses the tentacle monster and Chris starts kissing her. And then he uses the toy in general. And then he eats her out afterwards. And it's funny because at this moment, she just goes, the manufacturers of the toys that say they emulate tongue action are lying liars from Liarsville because nothing even comes close. And then he fingers her too at the same time.
Hmm.
And then she realizes at the end of a couple of hours and a lot of orgasms that she was falling for her best friend. Chris thinks that seeing Trixie come apart for him was like the best thing that he has ever seen in his entire life. They're not done yet. He also realizes that they were in such a hurry to play with her toy collection that they weren't even fully undressed yet. So he hasn't even gotten to see her boobs. So he makes her take her shirt off and then he
Well,
ties her
teenage
wrist.
goal of his.
I
Now that he's a
mean,
grown man, he still can't.
so then he ties her wrists with the straps of her bra to her headboard and he just starts enjoying her body. And he tells her that he is going to make her feel good. And of course, he learns she really likes being called a good girl. And she says that she wants to suck his cock. So she does. But he also has her fuck herself with the tentacle vibrator while also blowing him.
Has her ride it, yeah.
Same thing.
I mean, when you say that, I think about it being inserted.
Oh, sorry. After they're done, they're just going to rest for a little bit. But the next thing you know, it's bright fucking early in the morning. Goddamn Luke is crowing. And Trixie is late for work. When she leaves, he gets a text message from Everett saying, you might want to close the windows next time you fuck your new girlfriend's brains out, which is so funny.
He lives across the street from Trixie.
They all live in the same vicinity.
So his family had lived in their house, and Trixie's family had lived in their house. And they sold the house to travel the world. And Trixie went off to college and everything. And as Chris got money from football, he bought up every fucking property that went up for sale in the neighborhood, in that entire neighborhood. So Chris owns all of the houses. So when Trixie came back from college, she found that her childhood home was up for rent. And she was so excited. He put it up for rent for her and only for her. She has no idea. But I mean, like, he puts his brothers up in their houses once they're adults. Like, he owns all of those. He scoops them all up. So
Cute.
he owns the neighborhood. I
So
just find
good.
that so funny. Like, he owns the fucking neighborhood. Not even just his family. He owns the neighborhood.
As soon as Trixie gets to work, she realizes that while she wants to call Lulu, she can't tell her this over the phone in the middle of work because this is not a safe for work conversation. But of course, the whole day at work, Trixie's brain is fucking somewhere else, which is on the, sexy stuff. So she meets up with Lulu for lunch and she tells her that she had sex, not P and the V sex, but they had oral sex. And she brings up that they used the tentacle as well, which is very fucking funny. Lulu asks if it was good
I
or
think I
if
want a
she isn't.
tentacle. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
Maybe.
You're wearing a Little Mermaid
Probably
shirt
not.
today. You're not kidding.
No. I'm okay. I'm curious.
Don't tell me that out loud, Ariel. I have your address.
You're the one who's sending me all those things with the molds.
Oh, I know.
I think it's
Yeah.
ever since I saw those that I was like, interesting. But I
Curiosity. And
wonder
now
what you could.
there's a lot. Anyways, so Lulu asks if it's good or if she's just in love with him now, and they can all stop pretending that the two of them are just friends. And she says, at least yes to the first one. Not that she has anything to compare it to, but multiple orgasms is rather good. And Lulu asks if this means that they really are more than friends and no more fake dating. Trixie says, I think so, but she
It didn't
also
talk.
admits that she has not told Chris that she's a virgin, not on purpose or anything, and she meant to, but then everything started going so fast and she literally forgot. Lulu tells her to text Chris saying that she has something that she needs to talk about tonight. So she does.
That way she can't get out of it.
Yeah. She also gets an email from Marie Manaway because at the thing she had mentioned how she thinks Rachel is purposely sabotaging the fundraiser. And so they want to do it actually at the Manaway estate because they're awesome people, which is insane. As long as she can get, the rest of the reunion committee to approve of this, it's going to be amazing. And the look on Rachel's face would be so fucking priceless, which would be great. When she gets back to the library, she gets a new message from Chris telling her to call him and that there's some bad news. Apparently, the commercial he was slated to star in is the same weekend as the reunion, and he literally hadn't even thought to check when he told her he would go. Obviously, he's blinded by his love.
He just, anything you need, I got you.
Yeah, I got you. The best that they could do is have him leave ASAP, but he'll be back for the reunion. So he's letting her know, like, hey, I need to go to this, but I promise I'm going to be at the reunion. I just hate that we
So we
finally
won't
figured
get,
out.
yeah, we won't get our night that we had just planned.
His manager overhears this conversation. And he
Ugh.
says a lot of comments that rub Chris the wrong way, especially about her body. And he explains that she is really solid
He
in her
needs a new
confidence.
manager.
He does. And her mother is Sunshine Babcock, or she was back in the day, and now she's a body and sex positive coach. So he's really sure that Trixie is going to have a backbone, and anything that people say is not going to bother her nearly as much. And his agent's a little shocked and says, we need to make sure that that information does not get out about her mom, which I can understand, but at the same time, his comments about her body are just so disgusting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So then we're at the fundraiser, and Chris is picking her up. And of course, she's freaking out, trying to decide on a dress. And she ends up picking the sexy dress because why not? And the queen
That
bees are
she
going
had
to be
originally
so
bought for the event, but then she was second guessing
second
herself
guessing
because it
herself.
was too
But her
much.
friends are hyping her up, and it's great. And the queen bees are going to be so jealous because not only can she look amazing, but she's also going to have the hottest man on her arm. My favorite
Yeah.
thing is how much his sister's so supportive of whatever they have going on. And she's like even helping her get ready for this. So it's so great. As soon as the friends leave, he pulls her into his arms and kisses her. And it's so beautiful. So cute. They need to head over to the fundraiser, but first they need to stop off at the library because there's a donation form from or a donation from one of the moms she worked with who is a travel agent, but she wasn't able to get her work email from home to print it out. So they just need to print it out. Carter is there and he's being disgusting. And he says to Chris, like, oh, yeah, you hit that. But Chris is so protective over her and defends her and tells him that he needs to shut the fuck up. And Trixie does step in to make sure that Chris does not beat the shit out of him. But Chris is
We want
so
to make it to the
upset.
reunion, not jail.
Yeah. Chris is so upset over this man. And the fact that he even thinks about her and her mom is so revolting. And he does not want to stand for this. And she says that pretty much every man she's ever known is has been like this. Chris kisses her and says, "You know what? If you had said yes when I asked you out that summer, you would have never had to deal with shitty men who treat you like nothing more than fodder for their wank bank." And she's taken aback and she goes, "When did you ask me out?" And he goes, "The night you graduated." And she goes, "No, you did not." And he's like, "Yeah, I
I
did. And
wish
you
that
not
we had
only
gotten a flashback of the
me
scene.
too." Ugh.
Kind of made me sad. I
She's
felt
like,
like we were missing a little context.
I know, I wish we had gotten that too. He's like, not only you turned me down flat, but you told me to fuck off. So apparently this was the night she had broken up with the asshat Anthony, who was a guy who wanted her to have sex with him while he was watching her mom.
Ugh. Well,
And
so they
this
could
was
they
also,
could watch it together.
yeah. And this was not the only time that this has happened.
So she was just clouded in her breakup and everything and probably didn't even hear a word he said.
Yeah. And he goes, is that why you said you haven't done things? And so in her brain, she goes, oh, okay.
Because
He
she
knows
had
that I have
said
no
that when she went
experience.
down on him that it was the first time. But
And so in
right.
her brain, she thinks, okay, so he knows I'm a virgin. And she goes, oh, you know? And he goes, yeah, it doesn't bother me. She doesn't say the word virgin or anything like that. This is not the virgin conversation. They
But she thinks it
finally,
is.
she does. Yeah. They finally get to the fundraiser and it is badass. Trixie thanks the Manaways for hosting them and thanks the wives and girlfriends of the Mustangs for their help in organizing. And they're going to do the auction. They finally get to the item that Chris donated, which was a mile high tour and a workout on the field. And so starts a bidding war for Chris.
It should be noted that this is not just a regular high school reunion. This is a 3-day event where Friday
Yeah,
night is an auction, Saturday night is this dance, and Sunday is a family picnic. A 3-day fucking event for this
no, thank
all
you.
school, all girls Catholic school high school reunion.
No, thank you. The first person to bid is Rachel, and she starts at $20,000. And Lulu is like, absolutely not. And she's like frantically on her phone. And so she keeps donating and donating to like beat out Rachel. And it ends up being that Lulu says $50,000 and Chris gets sold to Lulu for $50,000. But we know Chris is actually the one who's the money
That's
because
how Rachel refers to it as Chris is being sold, but in reality, it was just
it's
a
not.
weight training lesson with him,
It was a
like a
tour
workout
and a
with
weight
him. Right.
training. Yeah, it's a train and a workout. Yeah. Chris is using this money because they did not want to leave it to chance.
Mhm.
Rachel's
So he
really
set up
slimy.
Lulu.
Yeah, Rachel's really slimy about it. But then Chris tells Trixie, like, hey, I've had my eye on the Vegas trip for us for like a weekend getaway. And they start bidding on it. But then Rachel is also bidding on it. And Chris gets an evil thought. And he lets her bid $25,000 and then just doesn't bid anymore.
She was just trying to rack it up for him, but he
She
instead
really
turned the
was.
tables and racked it up for her.
So Rachel won. And the lady who's doing the calling calls her Regina and just doesn't even care that she fucked up her name. And it's just so
She
funny.
should
So,
probably watch out for that school bus.
yeah. And she tricks her into paying $25,000 for something. But then they see her and the other two girls, the group, together in a conversation. And they're obviously up to something. And one of them looks very uncomfortable with whatever they're talking about. So that's ominous. Trixie falls asleep on the way home. And while she really wanted to have sex with Chris, he was definitely trying to be a good person. And of course, as he sat there watching her sleep, he realized what he felt was more than a high school crush. He really, really loved her. And he also was thinking that maybe marriage is the next step. So he leaves Trixie's house while she's sleeping and goes to talk to his dad. And he asks his dad, when did you know mom was the one? And they have a bit of a heart to heart. And the dad even asks, is this about Trixie? And he goes, I've been thinking about more with her and a life together. And I mean, we just started dating and I don't even know if she's in love with me. But the dad says, I didn't exactly know how your mom felt when I asked her if she'd spend the rest of her life with me. I definitely fell for her first. And this is when Chris decides he is going to marry Trixie. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but he would after they survive this stupid fucking high school reunion. Yeah, Trixie knows that Rachel is planning something, but she says she gets fucking pig's blood on her. She swears to God she will murder her, chop her up into tiny bits, and force feed her to her plan. And he goes, okay, calm down. Like,
First of all, you don't have
Seymour,
plants.
just saying.
That's what he said to her.
I know. But they're going to the reunion. Apparently, Amanda brought someone as her date. Trixie's not going to like. Turns out it's Anthony. Chris, not happy about this. And he is definitely thinking about beating the shit out of this dude. They have more of a talk back and forth. And Chris tells Trixie, I had the biggest crush on you back then. And I probably would have come in my pants if we danced this close back then. And Trixie says,
Is
okay,
shocked
is shocked, but
still.
yeah, they're gonna end up leaving. But Trixie's like, I gotta go to the bathroom before we leave. While she's in the bathroom, Anthony comes up to talk to Chris and starts talking to him and says, ah, I dated her back in high school. You know, she was a hell of a prude, but I'm sure you know that. And we learned that apparently he is part of the Sunshine Babcock fan club. Honestly, he's actually the owner of this stupid channel. And he ends up letting it drop that she is a virgin because he is a dick. And yeah, He's just a terrible person. Trixie finally comes out of the bathroom and Chris grabs her and is dragging her. And he's like, we need to speak somewhere private. And he confronts her and says, you're a virgin. And she goes,
He drags her into the locker room.
into the locker room, sorry. And she
I just feel
goes,
like that's
why?
important.
Oh, yes, it is. And she goes, why are you asking me this now? Like, are you mad? What's going on? And he goes,
I
I
thought we
am
already
mad.
talked about this. Like,
It's like, I am mad, but I'm not mad at you. I want to rip off the dick of every boy you've ever dated, every absolute jackass who ever thought they could treat you like a sex object. I want to smash the eyeballs out of the ones who thought they could have you because they'd seen your mom's porn. We lost out on years because I didn't make my move. If I could lose my virginity again, it would be to you. And they end up fucking in the locker room at the school, which is not the smartest idea because, you know, locker room in a school, but whatever. They fuck really hard, by the way. And he covers her mouth so she's not screaming, but he literally is purposely fucking her
slamming
so
those
hard
lockers.
against the lockers. Yeah. Afterwards, she tells him that she loves him and if they want to get out of there. And he also tells her that he loves her, but they really need to leave because he wants to fuck her 6 ways to Sunday. And they do fuck on the kitchen table. And he let her ride him like a cowgirl that she was. And then they finally get to make love. But they still have fucking more days of this reunion because apparently we get the 3-day stupid reunion.
Whose idea was
So
that? Probably Rachel's.
honestly, it had to have been Rachel's because Rachel sucks. So they get to the picnic and the vibe is great and everyone is having a fabulous time. But while everyone is all smiling at Trixie, Rachel was giving the death eyes, the icy death eyes. And she was hanging out with her bitch ass crew and, of course, asshole Anthony. And there was definitely something going on. Anthony was showing the group something on his phone. And the minute he saw Chris, he put his phone away. Turns out the thing on his phone was a video of Trixie and Chris fucking at the school.
No.
Trixie
Who
asks
could have
Rachel,
seen that coming?
right? Well, Trixie asks Rachel why she hates her so much. And Rachel tells her it's because she's so uppity and that she always thinks her shit doesn't stink. Trixie is like, okay, cool, gloves off. And she goes, because I don't hate myself, because I chose to be happy about who and what I am when you've gone out of your way for 10 years after we went to school together to try and make my life miserable. I see you, Rachel. I've
That was the
known
biggest
you.
thing. She was basically like, why do you hate that I'm not miserable?
Yeah, it's so cool because bullies apparently never grow up.
And
Um,
Rachel was basically like, because you should be. Because someone who looks like you shouldn't be happy.
She's like,
Mm,
I've known you and people like you my whole life. You honestly think that because my body is bigger than yours that I should be ashamed? I am loving that she's fucking reading her for fucking filth.
oh, yeah.
Finally, Lacey, one of the girls in the group, steps in and calls Rachel out on being a piece of shit too. And we learn how awful Rachel was to her as well.
And not only that, but the fact that Lacey has actually grown and matured since high school, while the others have not. And as she's grown and matured, she's like, geez, I was awful in high school. And she's trying to rectify that while the others are like digging their heels.
Yeah, and so she apologizes to Trixie. And Trixie accepts this apology, but as they turn to leave, Chris hears Rachel say, Anthony, do it. So we know something is about to go down.
It's
Chris
about to go
to
down.
go down. Chris is at the training camp and he gets bombarded by cameras and booing fans. Apparently, a video got leaked and now he's trending. Turns out Anthony leaked the sex video of the two of them. McGuire, his stupid fucking agent, which whatever, tells him that the video is no longer up, but there are screenshots. You should know, guys, the internet is for fucking ever.
I was just about to say, the internet is forever.
And it's
And that's
clearly him.
why kids, that's why when your parents try to explain to you how bad social media is and how important it is to be careful on social media, it's because we know. It's because we actually grew up with the start of social media and we created this devil. Be careful what you post because it will never
Go away.
go away.
Yeah. So while the video is no longer up, there are screenshots, and it's clearly him and Trixie, and they need to act quickly and get a statement out for some damage control. The press is also at Trixie's house, and everything is just fucking going wild. Trixie gets fired from the library
Carter.
because he's a dumbass, but she has no idea currently
He's
what
been
is going
waiting.
on. Oh, absolutely. And she has no idea what's going on. And she goes home where there's like so many fucking reporters. So she calls Lulu to ask what the hell is going on.
I want to know what happened to his security because he had that whole place riddled with his men, and now all of a sudden.
I think he also was curious what the fuck happened to his security because I think he
But
said the same thing.
nobody knows. We never found out.
She learns about the video after the
Guess it was
phone
just
call with
overrun
Lulu.
or something, but crazy.
Yeah. After the call with Lulu, Chris calls her and she tells him that she got fired and he apologizes and says they will figure it all out. He also has his brothers coming to get her in the
I also
funniest
love
fucking way
that
ever.
she's secure enough in her and their relationship that she didn't just throw a tantrum and think that, oh, we are the problem, you are the problem, and
Mm-hmm.
I can do this by myself or I need to be alone. She was secure enough that we are a team and we can fix this
I
together.
I love that
That was
so
just very
much.
refreshing, especially
Yes.
like I said, after we had just had one recently that was the exact opposite.
Right. Yeah, it's so nice to have characters who are actually secure in themselves. It's great. And in the relationship that they're building too. Like, yeah,
And
it's lovely.
because I feel like sometimes it's very important to have good examples as characters, especially since most of us want to read to get out of our heads. We want to get into a better space most of the
Yes.
time. So sometimes we want to get into a worse space, but I meant like, on that flip side of things,
Do
it's
we?
nice.
I don't want to get into a worse space.
A lot of people read because they want to, I've heard this a lot. They sometimes when they want to be in a worse space, they just want to feel like someone else gets it, or they want to, oh,
Okay.
this it could be worse kind of situation of, well, at least I'm not doing, so
Gotcha. Okay.
I have seen that
Uh,
point of view.
gotcha. So Chris also his brother's coming to get her while his dad is distracting the media out front to get her out of the house to go bunker down. When Chris arrives, he tells her that the way he sees it, she can move in with him, or he can move in with her, or she can stay put. She's worried about staying there and not paying rent, and he explains that she can mooch all she wants. And he tells her that she doesn't have to pay rent if she doesn't want to. And he explains about him owning all the property, which we talked about previously.
She's shocked that he's been her
Right?
landlord through a company the whole time.
Yeah. They all get together to try to figure out how to control this situation. Everett says, we should all just make our own sex tape. It's not a base, so that it's not a big deal. Everyone's doing it. But they decide to lawyer up,
It
and
should
we.
be also noted that Chris is the oldest if it wasn't obvious
Oh,
at
yeah.
this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. They decide to lawyer up, but we learn that Jules, the sister, knows all about Anthony because he has a channel called Anthony Am I the Asshole? I just like
Yes,
that.
yes, you are.
Yeah, and has an entire playlist called the Sunshine Babcock Fan Club and has 1 million followers. And then it hits Trixie. She knows who can help her out. Her mom. Trixie's mom gave her suggestions and tells her that she needs to show Rachel and the media that they don't have the power and that she should take up space. Don't apologize and don't let the world shame her for being her. Chris calls up McGuire to set up a press conference, and they were not
And
going to
she
play
has
by the rules.
always perpetuated this to
Yes.
her
Because
daughter.
even like her
And
mom was like, I'm so sorry that we let you down. And she goes, you literally raised me so well. Like you guys were great parents. And it really goes to show how good of parents they were considering how like she's taking this all in stride. But they're not going to play by the rules. Being in love with Trixie was a beautiful mess. And for the first time in his life, he didn't mind playing dirty, not even a little bit. So they are going to have the press conference at the home of the Mustangs instead of the training facility because he doesn't want any of the people who are training to like have to deal with any of this. Before the conference, Trixie says that she knows what they plan to say, but she thought about it all night and Rachel isn't ever going to stop. So screw them. She's like, do you love me? And he goes, I have since we were 12. And she says, okay, let's go make the rest of the world understand that love wins. They're getting peppered with questions as they get up to the podium for their speech. And Chris says, write this down. I am not apologizing for doing something that grown ass adults do, like at all.
he was basically like, I'm just sorry that some individual decided to violate our privacy, record us, and then post it online for his own gain.
Yes. The reporter asks if they're going to sue, and he didn't say anything. We learned, though, Trixie's mom is suing because he had been pirating these videos for years. So,
And putting them on his channel. And
yes. But it's Trixie's turn to talk. And she ends up proposing to Chris, which catches him off guard because he was also going to propose to her.
He pulls out a ring.
Yeah. And they both say yes, and the room erupts after they announce they're engaged.
They're all like, isn't this better news? Wouldn't you rather be talking about this? If you'd rather be a hater and talking about the negative stuff, you can fuck off. If you'd like to bask in our happiness, you can stick around and you can enjoy our lives.
Yep.
If you're going to hate, get the fuck out. And which
Yeah.
is pretty telling because these people are going to want interviews from him going forward. So they need to toe the line. They really need to be
Yep.
careful in how they. So it was a smart play.
Exactly. Yep. So she ends up getting a call from Lulu. She tells Lulu all about the engagement. We also learn that fucking creepy Carter had been sneaking into Trixie's computer when she's not there and using it for some less than savory online activities and trying to frame her.
Well, because he
But
didn't want to do it on his own computer because he didn't want it to look bad on him. And
right.
since he doesn't like Trixie and doesn't think she should be working there, she was his likely target. And
Yeah, and
those
this is where he
unsavory
fucks up.
videos,
He
yeah,
fucked up, and he is a card-carrying member of the Sunshine Babcock Club,
it
and
was all her mom videos.
he used his own credit card on her computer for the
Mm-hmm.
subscription. So it's just
Dumbass.
I love when people get what they
Out
deserve.
themselves.
Out themselves, absolutely.
It wasn't that he outed himself necessarily because he forced their sweet security guard at the library to forcibly exit her out of the building when he fired her. Like she couldn't even grab her phone, nothing. And this sweet man, he was like, I'm not going to stand for this. And he got his girlfriend in IT to do some digging because he's like, there must be something. And that's how it all unfolded.
I love them so much.
Unsung heroes here.
Yes. So then we have an epilogue, which is several months later, and Chris loves Sundays because it's game day. The season's been going really well because literally the more sex that him and Trixie have, the more games the Mustangs win. Just so wild.
They have all learned that, yeah, football players are very superstitious, and they've
Oh,
all learned
absolutely.
that once he outed themselves, that, oh, yeah, on the games that we have done tremendous on, yeah, me and Trixie, we have sex in the locker room before the game. And
So
now they all
everyone
steer
just,
clear of the
yep,
locker room
it's
so that they
so
can do that
great.
before games because they don't want to lose their wins. And it
Yep.
works.
We learned that Trixie is launching
So
her
weird.
own take up space network, and they were recruiting other plus size people in different industries to support each other, which is so nice, and I love that.
I hope she can still have a way to work with teens though, because I feel like that was really her passion.
Me too, and I like that a lot. Also, Rachel gets arrested for embezzling substantial amounts of funds, and
Yeah,
it's
that whole 3 day in
funny.
that was there. Huh, weird for
Uh-huh.
Rachel so that she could actually embezzle those funds.
Yes. So that was the cock down the
Chris
block.
hired a PI to figure
I
that one out.
so good, so good. All right, and that was the book. Favorite characters. I loved his dad. Telling the reporters, "Is this the grass you want to die on?" is such a power move. And like honestly, his whole family in general, like everyone was so supportive
Yeah. I really
of
liked,
everybody.
yeah, his family. And I really liked his brother, Declan. And I was really excited for all the hints that they were dropping at the end that he was going to be next. So much so that I went to do the next book. But then I read the blurb and I was kind of bummed out by it. And I decided that I'm actually not going to read the next book because I
Oh,
don't want to be disappointed by it because I enjoyed this one.
oh,
And I really was like, oh, I really want to read Declan's. It came out during that time where everyone was trying to make a Taylor Swift dates the
oh,
football player. And that's literally how the blurb is. And
oh.
it's about a pop star. And yeah.
I think I still might want to try it and see.
So if you do read it, you can let me know how
I'll let
bad
you
it
know.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
And if I'm, because,
Well, it can't be like that one book that got pulled.
oh, I know. Well, I think that's why, because I think that the media from that just left such a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
writing a book
And not
with
only
any
that, but the
Taylor
next
Swift stuff
book,
in it is very hard to
right.
like maneuver.
And not only that, but it's also another fake dating one where I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this again.
Oh, see, I love fake dating.
I know
I'll
you
read a whole
do, but
series on fake dating.
I like variety, especially in the same series. But
Okay. Anyways, so yeah,
least
that
favorite.
would really
What?
who the obvious answer. That's why I said really. You have to go with Creepy Carter. You have to go
Carter,
with
yep.
Rachel
I actually,
and
the
Anthony.
manager, I did not like
Oh,
either.
yeah, I didn't like him either. He needs a new manager.
He needs a new manager. Stat. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that how good of a guy Chris was. He didn't rectify that immediately.
Yeah. Maybe there's some behind the scenes reasons of why he didn't, but who knows? So, yeah, so Amazon gives us a 4.2 and Goodreads a 3.74.
What did you rate it?
I really liked it.
I also
I
gave it a
enjoyed it.
4. I enjoyed it a lot. It was cute. It was light. It was fluffy. It fell off a little bit for me in the writing
Yeah.
because I was so swept up in the story for a lot of it that I didn't care. But every once in a while, I got taken out because of the structure of some of the
Mm,
writing, because the tensing was really weird in a lot of ways. So, like, it would be switching back and forth between present and past tense, and you couldn't figure out which lane you wanted to speak in. And it was very
yeah.
frustrating where it would pull me out every once in a while. And there were a few errors. Like at one point, they accidentally said that there were 8 brothers instead of 7, or 8 boys instead of 7. Just, a few things, the writing mostly. And I thought that there were a few times that, like, it went a little over the top but for what it was, I thought it was super cute. I was in the story. Like I said, it was only so many times that the writing pulled me out of it because I enjoyed the story so much that I was able to get sucked in.
Hmm. That's good.
But I enjoyed it. That's why 4 for me.
Yay. How about your cucumber?
3.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, there
It's
wasn't a
pretty,
ton. Feel like, but for what it was, like, it was just kind of one of those light, fluffy things. I feel
hmm
like we could have gotten more because of the box of toys scenario, and that would have been
yeah.
kind of cool, but
Yeah. Awesome. Survivability.
I would be just fine.
Oh, I'd be just fine. I'd have a great time.
Fabulous time.
Fabulous time.
Fabulous time.
Sweet.
But yeah.
That's it.
So, yeah, next time our special is going to be Hot for Teacher. And hopefully you are enjoying our back to school shenanigans for September. And make sure to keep reading.
And keep it smutty.
How can you surround? Listen to the sound. Leaves crunch on the ground. Joy in you are found. September's smile makes it all worthwhile. Cause the vibes stay a while. September's smile. September's smile makes it all worthwhile. Cause the vibes stay a while. September's smile.